Good evening, Malaysia and followers from around the world. Welcome to our special 100th edition. And this is indeed a milestone since we started this social media journalism project a year ago. We have had an accumulated viewership of over 1 million. The best episode was in July when we interviewed Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz, which garnered over 350,000 viewers in one episode, and the numbers are still climbing every day. It remains the most watched episode. Tonight, we are privileged to welcome back Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz, and she is back. And of course, with me is Tan Sri Johan Jaaffar, my co-host. Welcome. Tan Sri, much has happened since we last talked. That was in July, a few months back.
Too much.
A new prime minister has been appointed, and MOU has been signed between the government and the opposition. Politics remains unstable, and politicians still remains horribly, as you can see in Malacca, and that nothing much has changed in that sense besides the appointments. We have had the Rancangan Malaysia 12, and soon we will have the budget in October. Now, Tan Sri Rafidah, with all this series of tablings of reports, but politics has remained unstable. And we know that following the COVID-19 pandemic, we are struggling to put the country back economically. But with an unstable government, the situation would not help us much, because that if anybody would to put money in Malaysia, especially FDI, you were in the MITI for decades, and you know that doing business for investors, it means how much do I get out of it. And if I have to deal with a new prime minister or a new chief minister every few months, it does not augur well for Malaysia. Tan Sri, can you give us your take on this instability, as well as what has been happening since then? Thank you.
Let me put it this way. As anything in this world, if it is spread very, very thin or too thin, it cracks and becomes ineffective. Now, that's what's happening in our political scenario. Politics in Malaysia has been spread so thin. And what I mean by that is that politics is injected into almost everything in our daily life. There is politics in the politics itself, as to be expected, but that politics is very toxic, very transactional. It's politics of I support you, you scratch my back, I support you, I give you rewards, blah, blah. You know that's that narrative where I'm not saying anything that's out of turn. Yep. Everybody knows it, it's proven. So that kind of toxic politics, again, it's not something that can bring up to stability, because toxic politics means that there are factions, there's divisiveness, fractiousness, and people take sides. Now it's not just taking sides. There's so many facets. So you just take one of the facets, right? And in no time at all, governments fall, like in Malacca. Yeah. Of course, the federal government is so wafer thin, right? So politics, again, toxic, transactional, that makes it very, very unstable. Secondly, as I've said, politics is injected into almost everything, into appointments of people, into positions of decision-making, positions that require professionalism, positions that require deep thinking, analytical thinking, vision looking forward, and of course, driven by interest of the nation. You put the wrong people in these round holes, they're even square pegs, they're hexagonal pegs. They're rubbish that you put, sorry, I'm very blunt, I don't like to be nice because life is too short. You put rubbish into these positions of power that decides for the rakyat in whatever sector. Well, what do you expect? So the economy suffers. And then decisions on simple things like vaccines and so that, you flip-flop. Last year in November, you said that, not you, I mean the government said, the then government said that, vaccines will be free to everybody, citizens, illegals even, undocumented. I proved that. It's all in the records. Now pay for it. Even we citizens will pay for it. So in other words, that kind of injection of, I don't know what politics, there might be some politics there, I don't know who's the agent, all these, all these medicines and vaccines, blah, blah, blah. So again, that weakens the policy on vaccination. And I can go on and on and on. Suffice to say that politics has been injected into everything that the government does and every part almost of our daily life. How can you have stability in politics? Politics is about development. Politics for development, as far as I'm concerned. Development is socio-economic development, not measured only by GDPs, percentages here and there. It's wrong when your baseline is wrong. You start with the wrong base. Wow, 10% increase. Yeah, from -10, that's 0. 5% increase from -2. You see? Come on. If I were 100 kilos today and I say I've lost 10 kilos, big deal, I'm still 90. Is that stupid? Or if you're skinny, 45, oh, I've gained 3 pounds, 48. You're still skinny. So that kind of analytical mind seems to be absent in amongst those who are making decisions. That's why when you have politics injected, you don't get the right people there. You have so many young professionals, right? And old professionals even. I mean, young and old meaning like you're 30-something, then you have 50-something. People of all generations who can input and add value in decision making. No, just because they're not in your party, they're not politics, so we don't take you. And you are very analytical, so you got criticized, for example. You know, these 50-year-olds, retired already, but still have a lot of institutional memory in them, like civil servants and so on. Oh, why take them? They're not going to cite me, they're going to vote for me. You see, the injection of politics, transactional politics and toxic politics into almost every area of decision making, impacting the private sector even, which is the trigger of growth for any economy in this world.
Tan Sri, the Malacca state situation, it is one election that nobody wants. Okay, nobody wants a state election. And of course, the politicians say that, oh, we are doing this for the rakyat, for development, and because we need to bring development to you. Of course, nobody believes them. What is your take on this? Because at the end of the day, it's about politicians wanting to be chief minister, and why should we fulfill their ambition? Because that, I mean, it's the same people. They have crossed here and there. What is your take on what's happening in Malacca?
You've already answered your own question, RealChunWai.
Yeah.
It's rubbish. It's toxic politics, politics of self-interest. I mean, I've never seen this happen in this country, and I'm 78. I started politics at 22 plus. All right, that is how many years in politics? You tell me, I can't even count already. Even Johan was not born yet, I think. So, you know, it's sickening. That's the only word I can say. Disgusting, sickening, because not only are we watching and suffering from it, but also the world is watching. We have slipped down so much in whatever ladder, in whatever ranking, whether it be competitiveness, whether it be attracting investments, whether it is a destination for holidays and blah, blah. But we have risen very, very fast as number 1 for corruption. You see how we are not top for the wrong things in the world. Maybe we're not top for changing governments. From one moron to another, from one set of morons to another. I'm sorry. Most of them, if not all of them, were my former students in the university. All right. So,
okay, Johan.
I mean that it is sad that I, for my generation, have to live through to see all this. And doesn't mean that I'm retired. I can say, okay, you do what you like. No, I'm a Malaysian. I feel it because I still have children, grandchildren, people around me, workers in the company that I'm chairing, where they suffer as a result of what's happening.
Okay.
Actually,
Johan?
Yes, Johan.
What is that Rafidah wants? Apa yang Rafidah mau?
No, jangan kata macam itu. You know, don't factor yourself into any equation. Ask what does the public and the rakyat want. That's what those fellows up there must ask. They keep asking what they want themselves. I want to be PM, like RealChunWai kata. I want to be Ketua Menteri. I want to be chairman here, chairman there. I want to be senior minister. You junior minister. Gila. Baru 2 hari jadi menteri dah senior. We never had that concept senior. I was 28, 29, 30 over years minister. Tak pernah teringat senior tak senior. We all are equal.
Yeah.
But you see, they give themselves titles. So when you talk about what do the rakyat want, I don't think they have any idea. They don't have any idea what the rakyat really wants. Kalau tidak, takkan jadi macam ini kan?
it's almost like the passing of a baton from one group of people to another. That is how the new government come about.
Listen, passing a baton refers to 100-yard relay, blah blah blah. It is a very good. This is passing of the. I don't know. There must be a negative word to use. It's not a baton lah. Passing of some SHIT, stick.
Okay, that's it. The other thing is you see the signing of the MOU between the Prime Minister and the opposition. It looks like there's some semblance of political stability, like whatever you call it, Is the lull before perhaps another storm is good for the country, at least for now?
The storm will never lull. Tidak akan reda. I mean, politics being so toxic as it is, so transactional, you can never see keredaan rather, in the politics. Now, you talk about MOU. If it is a memorandum of undertaking, I give credence to it. Ini memorandum of understanding among people who don't want to understand each other, who don't even understand each other. What the hell are we talking about? Memorandum of understanding to fight, understanding to compete with each other, to kill each other, backstab each other, or understanding to say, okay, let's just give the facade of peace and let's carry on what we want to do. I'm sorry, I'm very skeptical about this MOU because I was in charge of MITI. Every time I always quote this, every time somebody tells me they sign MOU, what does it stand for? Memorandum of undertaking or my understanding? Because understanding, don't tell me. Because tomorrow you argue tak jadi project. Tapi kalau undertaking maknanya you identify the site, you know what technology to use, how much capital you want to put in kan. Bukan just Bumi Putra masuk buta je. You put in berapa persen, really. You borrow money and blah, blah, blah. So in other words, undertaking means a seriousness and commitment, the sense of accountability, responsibility. Tapi kalau understanding, forget it lah, especially in politics. What understanding? Why do you think all this backstabbing happened? The only thing
promises.
Wait. The only thing they understand is where is the weakest Achilles heel ni? Which part of the back I want to step? That's they understand. Dia cari gaba-gaba dulu while making friend kononnya. Okay, he's weaker near the armpit there. Okay, that's where we step.
But there are promises of reforms, Tan Sri.
Alah, please lah, Johan, you live long enough as a journalist even. What reform? They should reform themselves. Every single one in politics today, please reform yourself before you stop talking about reforming anybody else or reforming whatever institution. Reform the political institutions first.
Johan, you realize that in all these reforms that they agreed with each other, there was a very important criteria which they did not put in. That is the question of funding for political parties. So it looks like everybody's the same. When it comes to funding and political donations, everybody keeps quiet. So the rest of it, they agree. But Tan Sri, here's one question. I mean that we know how bad we are in, the state of protectiveness we are in. Do you think that an election, a general election, is the best way to resolve our impasse?
Of course it is. That's to me, that's the only way out in any country with this kind of problems, right? But unfortunately, because of the COVID and so on, let's not be irresponsible to say that we must have it soonest. I mean, to me, lives are more important. I think we can still bear with this moronic state of affairs for a while more. Once the clearance is given that the pandemic is already managed and people can now go out to vote safely, provided all the safeguards are in place, it doesn't matter when, then it must happen. But never, ever, ever use a COVID as an excuse. That's important, right? Don't say we have COVID, and then not do much about it. So there's a difference there. Like emergency, remember?
Yes.
With all the emergency, still we are worse than before. You see how people can make excuses? So don't ever use a COVID as an excuse. Never ever. But always remember, there are ways and means of managing. Other countries have done it. So we should go ahead and manage it the way it should be. Don't inject any extraneous matter into it, any extraneous or political considerations into it. Don't take credit for doing whatever it is. Your duty to go and handle it. Now, most importantly, we the public must also subscribe to proper management ourselves in the COVID environment. I mean, let's not just say the government. It's us too. Sometimes we neglect the SOPs. You know what I mean? We We tend to be say, oh, everything's okay. Let's go and have a merry time in the restaurants and so on. Now, I'm not saying that enforcement is no good, but sometimes the enforcement can be overburdening people, but also maybe misdirected. But what's important is that while the government puts in place what's necessary to enhance vaccination, to ensure that there are no clusters formed, and to ensure that the environment is conducive for economy to keep on ticking, for social activities to happen in a very safe time, and of course in a safe manner, and of course education to continue, schools and so on to open safely with all the safeguards and the guardrails. And we the citizens must also assume our part in being responsible citizens in a not yet over COVID environment. But combine these two efforts, sincere efforts, I believe we can have the PRU in good time. That's my considered opinion, so to speak.
Tan Sri, you were in politics for 30 over years, okay?
Oh, excuse me, I was in government 30 over years.
Okay.
Come on, there's a big difference between politics. I was in politics 22 plus before I got married, all right? So I'm 78 minus berapa tu? 78 minus 22 berapa?
56.
Exactly. That's how long I've been in politics. And I joined government at 31. At 34, I was senator already. Not that I'm action tunjuk, but I'm saying why I am more frustrated than most of you. Because I've seen this, you see. We saw how we build brick by brick with all the problems, you know, external blah, blah. And then now they're dismantling it, not brick by brick, wall by wall.
And obviously that you still are very well informed. You're still very well connected. You can read the game. You have been in this game for so long.
What connected you mean? You use your words properly, yeah? I'm
connected in
to
the sense that connected in the sense that with members of UMNO as well as the political players.
I'm not connected to anyone.
Nothing.
No, I'm not a member of UMNO. I'm not a member of any political party, but I'm a Malaysian.
Previous members of UMNO were your friends.
Wait. This is where, again, people like you inject politics into everything. Discussing the national interest, people's interest, you talk about UMNO and all that. You see, RealChunWai, what I said just now, when everything and everybody, almost everybody injects politics into the discussion. Why? I'm speaking as a Malaysian. My home, my country, please.
Okay.
Who cares whether I'm a political party member or not?
All right, I rephrase myself. I will say that you're very well connected with many Malaysians of all walks of life.
No, I'm connected to the country and what it stands for.
Okay. Okay, Tan Sri, how would you read in the sense that if we have an election in a year's time or half a year's time, do you think that we will come to a situation where it's back to square one? We have parties with not having enough mandate, not having enough majority. We'll end up with having this coalition of small numbers trying to put up a government. Do you think that that could happen again, back to square one?
Well, we've always had a coalition government, so to speak, but the coalitions in the past were coalitions before elections, not coalitions after you lost your majority. That's different, you know. So I don't discount the fact that come the next PRU, there'll be parties more like-minded together, 3, 4, I don't know, but more like-minded than they were with the others. They would form a coalition like the Barisan Nasional well before the elections, and they allocate seats among themselves very cordially, and they work for each other to make each other's candidates win. That's what we did. Although because Barisan Nasional, I was for UMNO, and although I was an UMNO candidate, I didn't go campaign just for UMNO candidates. I went around the country literally while I was campaigning for myself to support candidates in a Malay area where a Chinese MCA member was contesting, Indian MIC member contesting, or Gerakan member contesting. It didn't matter because we belong to the coalition, which we formed in good faith well before the elections. We knew what we were in for, how many seats we shall allocate to each other because we have the best chance of winning. And when we win with a very, not say a very good majority, but with this resounding majority that gives that stability, then we allocate seats in parliament, in cabinet and so on, and allocate responsibilities. You see, I'm not talking about allocating seats. I'm talking about allocating responsibilities because I'm so used to that. The guy was given the responsibility for JKR, for example, should know everything about JKR. Our Sami values, our Ling Leong Sik, our late Lim Keng Yek, they all had their own portfolios and they knew everything about it. Don't just, those who were given portfolios about any welfare, national unity, all knew. Even the religious, the person in the PS department in charge of religion understood. We didn't have fights. You remember, I don't recall. Yes. Yeah. He's a Muslim, but he had this idea that, okay, we are Muslims, fine, but you have your own religion. I do not pray to your God. I pray to my God. So you do not pray to my God. I do not pray to your God. And that's one of the verses we recite when we pray, if we choose to recite. So in other words, that was a kind of thing when we have a coalition before, well before the PRU. Not because we just want to win, but because we feel that's the best way to go. There is no such thing. I am a Bumi, you are non-Bumi, you pendatang, your grandfather came from China, your grandfather came from India, your grandfather came from Sumatra like mine. There's no such thing. So when you form it on that basis, so it lasts, right? But when you inject politics into this environment, that's when it turns out like this. And people speak, just to gain votes, just to gain support.
Actually, things were different, of course, during your time when you were a minister and you were part of the cabinet. Yeah, but the dynamics have changed. Basically, what happened now, put yourself in, say, the Prime Minister's shoes. You see, to balance the equation, the political equation, even to survive is difficult. So these are the changing things that has been going on, Tan Sri. What is your comment on that?
Yeah, if you come in through the back door without the Rakyat's mandate, every night is a nightmare, isn't it? Thinking that tomorrow somebody will be paid higher, transactional politics, remember? And then one vote is gone. Somebody calls for a fresh vote of no confidence, you die. You can't sleep well at night if you come in through the back door, through the toilet door, rather. If you come in through the mandate of the Rakyat, you are aware the Rakyat still supports you. Correct? The Rakyat never supported you, supported a whole coalition, and you backstabbed all over the place until you yourself lost your position. Now comes somebody else. We don't know how this fellow is going to behave, but we know already the signs are there. And to me, that's where the instability is. When people cannot actually sit down and work for the country. When every word, every statement you make, every speech you make is just a halwa telinga. Halwa is what is that called?
Yeah.
Dessert for the ears, sweetener for the ears. It's gone bonkers now, this politics of Malaysia. I'm sorry. I have to use that word. I don't know what else to say.
But Tan Sri, I still hold to this belief that even after the general election, we will still end up in a very messy situation because unfortunately that this is how Malaysians have become, and there won't be any strong majority. We will still have this peculiar situation where they still need to negotiate, as you said, that they still need to come to an understanding, and we will end up with people who should not be senior ministers, but they want to be called senior ministers, which is really unfortunate.
Well, let me put it this, RealChunWai. If this law about voting age of 18 goes through, and becomes a reality, the young people don't think like us, like those people. They're probably more in our line of thinking. The young, they don't like this messy because job opportunities go and investors are not there. Even local investors don't invest here, go invest elsewhere. So the young may make the big difference. That's why the reluctance to let the youngsters vote. Yeah. I can imagine my grandchildren, that voting age, you're watching. They say, what is happening? We don't want these people. Now, that gives me hope. And of course, the bitter lessons learned from the kind of wrong people we put into place should teach Malaysians that lesson, very, very strong lesson. Don't vote the wrong people in at your constituency level. They start with the constituency. You vote in the wrong MP, you're dead. Because the MP is going to be the voter for the kind of prime minister that's installing themselves. I use the word installing themselves, right? You have to be very careful. So I think there is an awareness now among people at large, and I'm heartened by the fact the youngsters are going to also decide. So I'm not as pessimistic as you, RealChunWai. The more mistakes they make, the more votes they're going to lose. Well, they deserve it. All right. For me, I just want to see a country that's stable enough to generate the kind of economic and socioeconomic growth that gives a chance to the young to participate in economic life, that lightens the lives of people. I don't care you call it B40, B50, this grouping of people. It doesn't make sense because now the middle class have gone down to poverty.
Correct.
Because they were salary earners and the shops have closed, their factories have closed, correct?
Yes.
Zero income. Zero. And EPF money withdrawn. Hardly 10,000 left. How can that last them for the how many years of their life? Not just one life, lives of their children. You see, those who are earning 5,000, 10,000 a month even, right?
Yes.
Now zero income for the last 1 year. You tell me. If the housing loan is not yet paid for fully, still car loans, don't talk about daily living, you know. So you see, this meaningless B40, blah, it is just sweetness. Go down and check who has come down to whatever level of income. Now, have policies that are directed to elevating these miseries first.
Yeah.
You know, how, in other words, creation of employment and what triggers employment creation, better rules for business to start up, right?
Yeah.
Whatever other exemptions of tax or whatever for the time being to allow people to generate enough capital within the company to expand and take in more people, things like that, you know. Not top of the line statements. That won't work. So that's what I mean by unless they change, people are going to be more disheartened, and so the RU may make basic changes happening.
Tan Sri, it looks like as far as the numbers of those people infected daily, the numbers have gone down quite significantly. But what do you think about the
infected with what?
I mean, COVID. Infected with COVID, yeah, it has gone down. But what else can be done for the economy during this period, Tan Sri? You have been talking extensively about this. What else can be done?
What else?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's not for me to say one person. You know, why not you get a team of people who understand what it is, who have an idea what to do next and moving forward. Then you can get a better idea. I can give only one sampling, so to speak. I cannot speak as I know, as though I know all. That's not possible. But there are people outside there, practitioners in business, you know, people who are used to policy making, or people who are just having the kind of insight into how economies operate. Get them together. No political basis used, you know.
The previous
being done.
Yeah, the previous government set up this which RealChunWai, you are part of it. Yeah.
No, I mean, you see, there are not so many committees.
Okay, let me put it this way. Mula-mula national economic recovery, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, about COVID. I said COVID recovery is not what is only thing that's wanted, right? That should be one track. The others is all the collateral damage from the COVID, right? Which is economic, socioeconomic, mental health, education, and so on. These have to be given equal weightage in terms of approach, consideration, remedies, and measures. Tapi di mana economic recovery, it is COVID only. That's the only thing they know. So, as I've said, all those people who have been badly affected economically, through retrenchments, SMEs, 100,000 have closed shop forever. We're going to lose the one very important dynamic sector of the economy. The SMEs are the backbones of all economies in the world. Don't talk about SME Makcik Kia, you know. They are micros. SMEs that are in that middle level, not big, but medium, with and I think now it is 50 million turnover a year. That's hardly small, right?
Yeah.
By definition, these are the people who are very critical along the value chain of any industry. You lose them, people won't invest here because they don't have the persons, the companies are going to provide services and intermediate products. So they say, hey, if all the medium-sized enterprises that used to provide components for me, services for me are no longer there, I'm going next door. Where the government is giving special programs to revive balik semula, to revive these SMEs that form critical components of value chain. Let's not talk about Makcik Kia. Makcik Kia, you treat differently. No, all in the same breath. Makcik Kia and all this. No, that cannot be. Cannot be. You can't give these SMEs with 50 million turnover 500 a month.
Yeah.
Not even enough to pay the electricity bill, right?
Yeah.
They don't require money to be given free. They probably require financing packages that are only meant for those affected by COVID. Talk to the bank. They're making billions of profits. Talk to them.
That's it. Still on the subject of the economy, I just want to share with you some figures. These are new figures. In the World Bank ranking on logistics performance index.
I saw that already.
Saw that one.
Of course, I saw that.
We have kept falling down in the ranking. And what is your take on? We are not looking at the big picture. We are talking about 51% of equity for freight forwarders.
Excuse me.
What we are falling down.
Wait. Don't use the word we are not looking. I am, you are, Johan is, they are not looking. Please lah.
Okay.
Don't malu our face, Don't shame our face. We are looking.
We're not looking at the big picture.
We are looking very seriously, getting stressed about it. I keep track of all this because I've got all these news WhatsApp coming, from all over the world. I spend half a day reading what's happening elsewhere and in Malaysia through these kinds of write-ups. Now, that is a problem. Everything is politicized. So when you politicize and inject politics into every policy you want to introduce, the end game is how many votes shall we get? Which seats can we win? Which race can we get support from? Things like that. Not about elevating this country on to the higher level of performance, regardless who owns the companies lah. Like you said, the freight forwarders or what. Why do we want to go racial on this? This is a critical service along the value chain. I just heard last night, I read the news, I saw on CNN, there are billions of dollars worth of products in the ports in the US alone because they lack petrol, because there were no drivers to, and they lack whatever it is to move this logistics industry forward so that they can clear. As no prices are rising in the US for the smallest item. The restaurant, there's one guy who says one of his items in his menu, 100% increase in price because he can't get it. If he can take it or leave it price, because they're all still in the containers somewhere in Los Angeles and so on. And they showed the pictures. So you see how important logistics is? We are a trading nation. We import as well as export. Now you want to play the fool with logistics shares and equity and so on, when for umpteen years, decades, we've been doing well. I think Bumi Putra themselves will be embarrassed, if you start saying, hey, you can get 51%. The young Bumi Putra say, what the hell are you talking about? I can buy into the shares if I want to, right? You don't give participation rights just by saying, okay, take 51%. Yeah, I can give it to your uncle and your auntie, maybe lah.
But they say this is part of the Bumi agenda.
Johan, this is 2021. 2021. This is not the year 1990, It's not about taking from Peter to give to Paul. This is what's wrong with our understanding of new economic policy. Take yours and then give to Bumi. I think the Bumis have come to their senses and say, oh, for God's sake, don't do that to us. We have our own dignity. The young Bumis all over, they have friends or non-Malays, non-Bumis. They can do very, very credible joint ventures, right? On their own steam. You know what I mean? Without saying, I'm Bumi, you're not Bumi. They just say, hey, We are professionals. You're an accountant. You know, I'm an engineer. Why don't we set up a company to do some components for these electronic vehicles, things like that, you know? That's a kind of Bumi Putra, non-Bumi Putra relationship the young wants to have. Gone are the days of the grandparents who know next to nothing about anything, become chairman of a big company, right? Just to give the Bumi face. Then the second phase where somebody who knows someone gets to be chairman, gets to be director, free shares. Gone are the days. The Bumis of today have got credibility in the main. You know, most of them would like to be there because they have the professionalism, they have the capacity, and they have that willingness and motivation to work for whatever they earn. And they have good relationships with the non-Bumis. So don't plant the seeds of animosity amongst them, these young people.
Actually,
I have to go on because to me, you talk about Bumi, how long more do you want to talk about Bumi? How long? Until your next cucu pun dah having these videos like this? Please. Gone are the days of looking at the racial color. Right? We are all Malaysians. Now, if there are Malaysians of multiracial creeds, religion, whatnot, can get together and form joint ventures with some big foreign company, so be it. Encourage it. Don't have 51%, 49%. What is percentage? Even if they can take in 10% and make an effective participation, good enough, right? A Bumi with, I say, I can only afford 10%. You know, your paid up is so big, 10 million. I can afford 10%, but I can input my thought processes. You know, I'm a qualified this, that, and the other. And the guy say, okay, just put in your 10%. We put you on the board. Because rather than hiring, you know, a whole lot of people, you alone have all that wealth of knowledge and expertise. Isn't that better than having 41% like me, no next to nothing, shares pun free, nama je 41%, I just put in $3. What credibility do I have?
Unfortunately,
what satisfaction do I get? Malu. I look at RealChunWai, I'm malu. I look at Johan, I'm malu.
yeah.
I get company car, big one, correct? And Bumi entrepreneur, what entrepreneur? That's shameless. But I'm so happy to say today the new generation of Bumis are, I would say mostly, if not all, are not like that. Because they are trained, they understand the world out there. IT business knows no color, correct?
Yep.
Journalism knows no creed or color, right? Okay, now you're quiet.
Okay,
Johan?
Tan Sri. But unfortunately, not many Malay politicians subscribe to this idea of yours. They still believe that the Malays or the Bumi Putra still need help, some kind of an NEP. That is why some of these policies are still in place.
Look, Johan, no, you see, what we hear are those people who make speeches outside on the political platforms.
Yeah.
Don't judge the Malays by them, you know. Don't judge the Bumis by this mouthing of these statements by those people. There are a few with political motive and interest. They think that when they speak like that, Bumis will vote for them. Here's one Bumi who will not. And I'm sure, Johan, you're one Bumi who will not either, right?
Yeah.
So, they're using the same old tune. What are you talking about? This tune is no longer valid. The Malays themselves are saying, what are you doing? Why are you saying all this? The world is so competitive. If we can compete, please do not hamper the competitiveness by giving this added burden. You know, it becomes like an albatross around your neck. Bumi. People say, Allah, you be called Bumi. When in fact that guy is the most qualified. And he has to be dragged down by this albatross of Bumi. No, I don't wonder he got it because he's a Bumi. When in fact that guy would have been a Caucasian, I would have got the same job because of the expertise. You see? It worked both ways, Johan.
Yeah.
Those days, 30 years ago, when we first launched it, being a Bumi has some added lah, you know, because that was the way it was to be restructured society. But it didn't mean that I take from RealChunWai to give to Johan. No, I was part of it. No, not at all. It was really to make this economy grow much faster than what it could it had done or it had grown, so that everybody can have a bigger share. So we, Bumis had only 1.9%, and the foreigners had 60%. The rest were owned by non-Bumis. We're not going to take from the foreigner and give to everybody. No, the economy will grow so much that over time, what we got, even with 10-20%, is so much more than what we had before. What more if we actually come to 30%? But the pegging of the 30% is to give a reflection of how much we needed to do to make the economy grow. And always reminding the non-Bumis, we're not taking from you, but if you can, this is how we started it, right? If we can get right people in joint ventures so that they can have share participation in some business, they're still not yet there, sort of grooming and mentoring, please. And there was a 30% share requirement in order to give a guideline, right? It's not saying I'll take 30% from you. No, the Bumi is supposed to put in the 30%. Of course, not all Bumis can do that. And the foreigners, we don't tell them, get out of this country. We want all your estates. No, we bought all the whatever they have. We bought the estate. Pernas was there taking over, right? Remember? Not take over nationalizing, but buying. Got the dawn rate, remember, buying it. Yeah. And so we had the conceptualization of making the economy grow from this small to so much bigger that what was only one plate full or one little cup full for the Bumis become a big bowl full. And the bowl that belonged to the Chinese became a bigger pot, tempayan, right? And the foreigners still maintain whatever they had before, and even more because they're now venturing into not plantations and commodities, but they were in electronics, remember? We didn't say, no electronics factory for you. Why? Because that's what made the country grow. So in other words, everybody still continue to get their share in the bigger economy. But today, the economy is not growing. COVID is one thing, but wrong management of the economy, or I would say incompetent management of economic growth has resulted in the economy shrinking. At best, remaining like that, and remaining in terms of numbers, but critical compartments of the economy are not growing, It's like a cake. The real edible part of the cake is smaller. The hangus part, the burnt crust, right? The burnt bottom, bigger. You can't eat that. The cake looks bigger, but edible part only small. That's how I picture it. So therefore, stop talking about this Bumi thing, for heaven's sake. Stop talking about it. The young Bumis of today don't like to hear that anymore. They want to be there, recognized in their own rights. Right? Just like Chinese, like everybody think Chinese from China, you're going to be very angry, RealChunWai. You're a Malaysian, correct? That kind of thinking, pendatang. Come on, gila ke? Crazy. Some of them, the Chinese great-grandparents were here longer than some of the Malays. Yeah, my great-grandparent came from Sumatra. So who am I to say I'm very, very, very rooted here? But I was born here. My parents were born here. So you see, if we talk about the racial aspect of everything in this country, we will never move forward. We will either be stagnant at best, or we move backwards. And now we're already backwards. I just saw the ranking yesterday. Yeah. We have fallen to number 6 in ASEAN.
So sad.
Very. I couldn't believe it. I said, oh my God. And it's not something you even envision. We were number 1, if not number 2 those days, right? We were top 3 lah anytime. It doesn't matter. But to fall below the other neighbors, Cambodia, Vietnam, I say, oh, unthinkable. Because not that we are so arrogant. What I'm saying is that we achieved so much. What happened? We know what happened. That's a stupid question for me to ask. They just carried on working. They just carried on doing what they needed to do, right?
Yes.
Without much politicking. Myanmar, about to go up there, now go back to the bottom there. Why? Because of politicking. Yeah. So, Are we not learning lessons? Are these people not learning lessons? We are. Are they not learning lessons? Still wanting to mouth all those nonsense that comes out that doesn't make sense, that only rile up people one against another, that doesn't even make reality policies and so on. I'm sorry, I'm very skeptical because I've seen this.
That's right. You know, in all these subjects, you have also mentioned the question of us, of the government, spending 30 over million to renovate Sri Perdana. It's just not the amount, but we have been horrible in maintenance. Sri Perdana is actually not the first. I mean, Kakosa is falling apart. Stadium Merdeka is falling apart.
Government is falling apart. What are you talking about? Government is falling apart. That's a falling apart syndrome of this country. You know? We've always mentioned many years already. The maintenance culture in Malaysia is at the bottom there. There's no maintenance culture, period. Go to public toilets, start from the smallest. Public toilets, public roads, kampung roads. I know I was MP for 39 years. I should know what I'm talking about. Look at the facilities in the outlying areas. Hardly any maintenance, right? I mean, when the VIP comes, then they start patching. Just patching surface. Then the VIP goes, it rains, and then the potholes come back. Okay, that's the kind of thing. Now, that's small compared to what's happening. Sri Perdana to have gone into such a rut is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's true that the depth of that rot is that. I don't know. You know, figures, you know, it could be inflated anytime. It could be just 5 million. You add another 30, what's the problem? After all, no tender, right? I'm told. I may be wrong, but I'm told no tender. Just plong-plong bagi ke orang. So, people renovate offices. I know. No tender, renovate 1.2 million. I said, what on earth? When I left, the office was perfect condition. 22 years, nothing wrong. How come suddenly when I left, they took over 1.2 million to renovate? Buat apa? You see, the renovation culture, rebuilding culture has been ingrained because that's one of the, to me, one of the manifestations of transactional politics, which is one of the offshoots is corruption, bribery, leakages, wastages. And everybody's shocked that it should run so high. There should be renovation, of course. You can rebuild the whole thing, you know, for that kind of money. And then secondly, why all the secrecy? Let everybody know. When was a tender given out? How many people tendered? What were the tender costs? Comparisons, right? How come this one got it? Who is he? Who is she? We have to know it's public funds, you know, not anybody's grandfather's money. I'm sorry. My money too, I pay tax every month. I may be retired, but I still earning, need to pay tax. By my standard, you know, tax is tax lah. You know, it runs into 4 figures. It's very hefty to me. So, that's only one. The stadium, like you said, roads, highways, under construction, it collapses now. What does it mean? That's not maintenance, that is supervision.
Yep.
So we don't have the kind of a SOP culture in place, you know, where for everything there must be a proper SOP. I think the only time that the country heard the word SOP was during COVID. 6 feet apart, right? Wear mask, sanitize, and wash hands. Correct or not? You got that here? No. In fact, in every stage of governance in any country, SOP, it should be the order of the day. 1, SOP for people in government, cabinet ministers. The SOP should be don't appoint as many hangers-on as you like, 22, 14, you know, SUSK. I call them gatekeepers. During my time, the SOP was minister, 1 secretary, 1 special assistant, 1 press secretary, 1 political secretary. Finish. Habis. That's all. I think the Prime Minister has 1 extra, SUSK. That's all. The rest were typists, office boy, you know, delivery boy. Because dulu kita deliver, hand deliver, right? Masih itu belum ada lagi apa-apa.
Ini special officer bukan main banyak.
14. 14, the guys who replace me 14.
Ramai penasihat Aziz.
No, today is special officer is one thing. You have not gone down that line. Penasihat, no. If you have so many penasihat, you're not fit to be there. Why don't we appoint the penasihat to be the minister? Abi malu many penasihat around me. Remove me, make penasihat the minister. At least I get it first hand. Ni ada second hand information, right? Ada pula orang tengah. Maybe you don't even understand what your penasihat say and then you do something else. Then the penasihat will say, I didn't say that, I said something else. Appoint the penasihat lah. They're so good, appoint them as ministers lah. But unfortunately, that's not the case lah. Some of these penasihats are not really penasihat. You know, they are there because got to give post. Otherwise, one vote gone.
Okay.
That's sweet. You mentioned, hang on, John, because on a follow-up to what about Street Perdana and also the other buildings, there's another missing element beside maintenance, the question of audit. Because how can furnitures go missing from these places? These are money which is used from taxpayers to buy all these fittings, furnitures. And then we read of furnitures going missing. Obviously, has got to be the audit. Why are we also so poor in auditing?
That's why the SOP I'm talking about. Like, if you give me 1 hour, talk about SOPs lah. I just talked about SOP as your entourage, right? The suite in the ministers group, right? How many SK? That's what I was talking about. Then the SOP about what you do when you're working, where a cabinet paper must be presented for every new decision you want to make. Don't make it unilaterally. It has to be endorsed by cabinet every Wednesday. Cabinet kata no. Kalau cabinet kata not this way, change it, you change. No policy new, no measure that's new without the cabinet not knowing. Cabinet doesn't know, you implement, you kena. Next time you get hauled up and you get told. If you don't know what to do, you know what. If you cannot do that, you know what to do. That's what Prime Minister said. Maknanya out. And that is the most hurtful thing to hear, right?
Yeah.
When the Prime Minister tells you, well, if you're not going to listen to the cabinet, you know what to do. I could hear the silence of the pin drop. I'm telling you, in my own experience. That's SOP. So then it goes down to SOP about actual work itself. When you implement something, how is the contract done? What are the evaluation, the criteria for the contracts? They require SOPs. When it's being built, the SOPs is about day-to-day supervision. Who delegates to what? The authority and the feedback in terms of how much done. Because you got to make payment, progress payment. Don't make progress payment for 80% when the work is only 20%. That's corruption. It's done. It is. We know that. So that's SOP again. And then furniture. I'm telling you, when we were installed as minister, we all got crockery.
Yeah.
We never asked. We got a set of crockery for 12. We got all this cutlery. Silver plated, not really silver plated cutlery. Or every one of them. And then my friend who retired before I did, told me, ayo Rafidah, susah hoy. He said, what happened? You know those crockery that we were given, those plates and then given that actually used, because we do, when we get guests in the house, we serve lah kan. Come on, even life goes. What more crockery tak pecah ke? Pecah. Glasses pecah. They're all little crystal glasses. So they say, oh, now the JKR wants all this back. So I said, what are you talking about? I thought they give to us as long as we serve, but now I have to pack and give them back. This is my time. I brought it up cabinet. I said, let's make a decision. Don't give me any crockery lah, please. Take back now before my mate breaks them, before I accidentally break them, or my guests break them, or before I lose one fork and spoon. It's such a hassle when I retire to put back in a box. Take them. And for those new cabinet, to bagi lah. We buy our own crockery, right? Not so hard up. To make us, after we retire, like me, I retire after God knows how many years in service. 39, 40 years I think in service. How do I remember how many plates there are? How many pieces of teaspoons, please lah. Teacups, coffee cup. Can you imagine? So, I said, am I supposed, you can take back. Now I've been given, take back off. So the Prime Minister says, I think it's ridiculous. Retain. When you retire, you take lah whatever it is. So it's not like you can go and gadai them and make money lah.
Yeah.
You know. So that was, see how our SOP was so tight. The JKR at that time was so diligent.
Yeah.
Now today, things have changed. The culture has changed. Yeah. So the unnecessary and negative culture has seeped into the way of governance today, right down the line, from top to bottom, you know. People who are supposed to enforce either don't enforce or enforce it inequitably. People who are supposed to be the guardians or whatever it is are the very, very foxes who steal the chickens in the farm, in the barn, right?
Yeah.
The ones who are supposed to protect are the ones who are exposing us to all kinds of rubbish. So there's a topsy-turvy evolution in the culture that has made this country very strong before. It has permeated into all levels. I worry about what we're leaving to the young. I worry very much because if the young begin to think, oh, that's a culture, is it? That's nice. We can rich through that way. Or are we going to teach them that that's the wrong way to be rich? That's totally the wrong way to run your life, run your business or whatever. You know, go back to the old times lah, when sweat and toil is the order of the day. Today tak payah sweat and toil, everything is IT. It's all here. Optimize the mental capacity. So we have to reverse the education. That's what, back to education. What we teach in the schools, we have to revamp the approaches, the content itself. Make it relevant to people living a life of dignity, you know, not just knowledge, of dignity, knowledge with the wrong mental attitude. My God, you abuse your knowledge, right? You have a lot of IT knowledge, you become a hacker. No, seriously.
Okay, Tan Sri.
Demand ransom. So
Yeah.
you see, you have education system will have to be revamped along the way of new values and new SOPs in life.
Datuk Wong, how many more questions?
I can do 3 more. It's okay.
Okay, I have 2 little
We
questions.
cannot let Rafidah off, Aziz off. She's in her element now. Okay.
Okay, I have
I hate to be constrained by
questions.
time.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Tan Sri, your name is not in the Pandora Papers. Are you disappointed
not.
or should we be disappointed?
No, if you think I do those things, then you're not my friend. You know, my biggest worry is for the bank to call my daughter. She's overdrawn. Here, local bank. That's my biggest worry lah. My late husband's biggest worry was that because we had joint account. You know, don't ever let the joint. And then finally he said, I tell you what, save me worry. I set up a small account for you because those I didn't sign off as I like. I signed off for my kawasan. People want spectacle. I got to have care. You know, the kind of things I cannot give the government allocation. So I just signed off lah. This somebody house burn, kan, need 500. Like, you know, I don't carry around money. So my husband said, you keep on doing this. I cannot reconcile my balance, our balance. So I set up a special in Jalan Raja Laut, and let you and your secretary manage it lah. Then he put a seed money there. I think remember 20,000 something like that lah. Long time kan. So I know lah how much I spent. So he doesn't worry. You spend, but I still overdrawn. My secretary don't even tell me. Say, Datuk, apa ni? Datin dah overdrawn no 300. Now why is it? Because he is Bank Negara. He's governed by the Mafia. If the wife just merely signed the check, you know, and overdrawn, it's like a loan without any backing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Loan without backing, just getting free money lah from the bank, you know. Maknanya you just sign off as you like. Cannot be. Cannot. You're under Mafia. So I took note of that. So when you look at any of this, you will never find my name. I'm happy that I'm not overdrawn. Heaven help me. It's my daughter's headache now. She's managing my finance, but thank God lah. God is so great. I still got my pension, kan? I got a bit of allowance, a bit only, but enough lah to maintain myself. children all self-maintaining. They also maintain me whenever they can. So in other words, live a life where I can talk like this without fear or favor.
Yeah.
Most important, I can look at you in the eye, you know, and say, hey, don't you dare. Isn't that better than having a Pandora's box open and say, yo, you got 100 million in Virgin Island or Widow Island somewhere. Not Virgin anymore, you know. Divorcee Island. Not Virgin already. Oh, Pandora's box open. It's so malu lah. You pretend, you know, so humble, living simple life, and then you find that billions outside. Oh, yo, you can't bring it on with you to the grave. You cannot bring with you. That's why I'm wearing all these things that I have bought on installment decades ago, because I die today, I'm happy that I wore it. You know what I mean? Nothing to be ashamed of. Hard earn money, man. Now, having that kind of revelations, you know, like money here, money there. What were they thinking? Why was that greed so unbridled? Why? It's like, you know, in Malay, my mother used to say, you know, makan ni biar berpada-pada, you know, jangan muntah ke darah. Right? Eat just what you should eat. Don't
lama tak dengar perkataan tu. Dah lama tak dengar perkataan
muntah ke darah kan? Now they don't say anymore. My mother used to say, jangan sampai muntah ke darah. Don't until blood vomit, you know, you eat stuff yourself because it's so nice. Now, that is on eating. This one, they gather wealth by hook or by crook until don't know where to put. Now send to Virgin Island. Send to don't know where lah. Yeah. And we have actually here Labuan, if you need offshore account, right? Labuan ada, tapi Labuan people know.
Yeah.
Too close.
Too close for comfort. So go to some virgin place. Yeah. That's where levels are. So anyway, that to me is a new revelation in this country. I never knew that we would come up in that kind of news article, you know, where Malaysians end up with this kind of accounts offshore. Good Lord. I mean, honestly, I never thought that would happen. I thought people have money in Singapore, maybe, you know, but faraway places like that, what are you trying to hide?
The figure is almost R1 trillion.
I know. And the thing is, what are they trying to hide? If it is honest money, keep it here. Like we have enough banks, right?
Yep.
And if it's honest money, why? Live honestly, honest money. Happy lah bercakap kan? You speak without fear or favor. Ayo. It hurts, you know. You could have Malaysians. It hurts when I read Malaysia. Alamak, it hurts.
Last week, still on the subject, since you're talking about accountability, corruption, we have the past president. She says that bribery is not punishable under Islamic law.
You spoil my day, RealChunWai. I already mentioned this in some video Zoom the other day. These are the interpretations they make when they are caught. When they are in that position, they have to justify that they got this money, it's not haram, because willing giver, willing taker, willing buyer, willing seller kind of concept. There's no such thing in Islam. Don't justify your dirty acts by you quoting Islamic sentences in Arabic people don't understand anyway.
Okay, while we have all these problems that's bogging the country, we're struggling with COVID, we're trying to catch up economically, and that we have raised issues, the old narrative issue. Do you think that we're spending a lot unnecessary time, the authorities are spending unnecessary time going after Noor Sajjad and giving the impression that we are hunting her down to the point of obsession and heavy-handedness?
I don't know, maybe some people fail to get her for himself. I'm sorry, I get very cynical, right? To me, it should not even be an issue. Let people live their lives. Be real. There are people like that in this world. You know, they're not disturbing you. I'd rather that you go down after a criminal like Jolo.
Yeah.
Go to the worm's hole as well. Let's say Malay, right? Lubang cacing. Ada pula. Nothing. Public funds squandered. He is not squandering anything, anybody's money. It's his life. I want you, his or her, I don't really care. I mean, if you start naming names and who's who, it and whatnot, haha.
Yeah.
Please, I don't really care. God makes humans in so many shapes and sizes and of many inclinations. Those days, you know, these kind of people were called maknya. You remember when I was young?
Yes, yeah.
They walk a buyer, walk around, nothing. At most, some people just laugh at them. Itu pun the ones who are inhumane. Otherwise, we just don't care. But today, as you said, Chunwai, it's an obsession. I don't know whatever for. Let her or him live his life as it suits him. It's not hurting anyone. Does him or her dress like that, being what he or she is, hurt anybody? Does it hurt Chunwai? Hurt me? Hurt Johan? No. They have their own community, so be it. Nothing to do with being liberal or not liberal, just being real. This is the real world. Let's not cast stones on people, you know, who actually have done no harm to anybody. God will take care of all this. You know, you think the saintly looking people, saintly people who, you know, who wear these big turbans and make all kinds of sanctimonious statements are going to heaven? Please, you don't know. None of us know where we're going. All that we know is that we're going to go into that hole, God willing, wrap for Muslims right around 6 yards of cloth. It's not stitched, you know, raw cotton. At least the Chinese, sometimes they wear suit as well, kan? If you're a Christian. The Hindu, they burn up everything. They wear nice sari, lepas tu they burn lah, tak apa. That's the way it is. Never mind. What I'm saying is that when you're gone, you're gone. And we believe in God, have a faith, that it means that God will take care of your soul. Right or wrong. We don't know how God is going to treat these people. Do we know? God created them, you know. And God will understand whether they've led a good life or not. Not for us to determine. I get very sick of this. Every day there's sajat in Bangkok. My God, wasting human resources. Hunting down one person who did no harm to anyone. Except being what he or she is, you know. Which he cannot avoid.
Yeah.
God created like that. What to do? It's not in Malaysia only, you know, everywhere. Please lah.
Okay, Johan, one final question from you before we wrap up.
Tan Sri, how thick is your skin? I'm asking you this question because you have been very open, very critical.
That doesn't mean I'm thick skin, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm open-minded.
and of course, you are being attacked and you have been lambasted, you have been questioned and you've been criticized,
including by you. We have a lot to ask forgiveness for.
That we will discuss later. So, I mean, you have you make a choice to do that because you have been critical. I mean, for the better of the country. I mean, you have your own reason for doing that, but you know, at the same time, you have been criticized, you've been condemned. So, what is your thinking about this kind of conversation, Tan Sri?
What conversation?
That the conversation about people criticizing you and attacking you, and I mean, on your position.
I couldn't care less. I didn't even read about attacks. You see, to me, if you care enough for your country, you don't just let things go. You do your little bit to make things right. And sometimes to make things right, you need to even comment on what's wrong.
Yes.
And then you say what's right. I don't just criticize and leave it at that. You will check every article I write all these years. I say what is wrong, and then I will say, you know, this is what should be done. It's always constructive criticism. Of course, people who are doing wrong, kena batang hidung lah.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't like it. I don't care. I don't care too who they can criticize, they can lambas. God will take care of all that. I speak in good faith, all right? Without fear or favor. That's very important. Tepuk dada, tanya selera. you know, when you speak without fear or favor because you know you're not doing what they were doing, when you know that you try your best to do what was right when you had the authority, and you know that what people are doing now, some of them are terrible, detrimental to people and country, and you let it go, I think I'm not being true to myself and to my country. What's the point of chatting in a coffee shop? Come on. If you don't write, you talk among your friends, right? You use worse words. You lambast even worse. I don't use all those words. But why not be brave enough and write it and say it out to show that you're a citizen that love this country. You cannot stand for all that nonsense. So people like me and like any of you who write, I have friends who write and tell me, but they write nice things, like, very, very, no, not nice thing in the sense that puji-puji, no, I mean things that are of no consequence, you know what I mean? That somebody will say no, right? It's just matter of factly saying things. No need, we can write, we can read articles in newspaper about that. What we need to do is move things forward. And to my mind, if things are okay, I can rest. Why waste my time writing anything? If going 90% all going okay, the 10% not worth talking about, it's okay lah. I mean, I retired 14 years. Have you heard me writing in those days? Go back and think. When did I start writing? When the 1MDB started. Before that, I took it that these are part and parcel of the government. There'll be audits here and there, leakages, but you correct it, You can remind people, but not the way that I wrote. But when the 1MDB started, I couldn't take it anymore. It's daylight robbery. And it is abuse of public funds and responsibility. And then the rot went on until today.
Yes.
You see, I can't stop writing, not because I love to write. I have to spend time. I have to restrain myself from not putting what I want to say. Those dastardly words, which you all will say in private. I don't. In private, I don't talk very much. Malas, stressful. I write, done. Then you all read. You comment bagus, tak bagus, that's your problem lah. I've said my piece. I die tomorrow, I'm happy. I die tonight, I'm happy. I've said my piece. But if I didn't say it, then I would regret forever. That's my principle lah. So those who want to criticize, lambast, go ahead. You can split your mouth for all I care, Or any part of you want to split lah to condemn and all that. But if you are not like that, why you worry? Why should you be angry, right?
Yeah.
If you're not the ones I'm talking about. But then you see, the person may be angry, but there are hundreds of people under patronage of one. Those are the ones angry because dia punya soru, That's the one person.
Soru.
It's the patronage system, right?
Yeah.
These are the ones that, there goes. Kalau this guy out of job, habis lah I. You see? These are the ones lambasting, not the guy on the top. He know he's wrong. The court of law also say he's wrong, right? Or she. But the one the soru ni, earning soru,
Cari makan.
Cari makannya,
Cari makan.
More than makan.
They call this in the online word terminology ni.
Rent seeker.
No lah,
More than that.
the army ni, the apa? Virtual army dia lah, the bloggers, all that.
Cyber trooper.
Pecacai dia lah.
Pecacai. So, this is the kind of thing that's happening in the world. I didn't say Malaysia, the world. But Malaysia, because we live here, we know lah. Saying stop, that's the pound there.
Okay, I got to wrap this up. Really, this is the Rafidah that we have known. I mean, Johan, you and I covered her for a long time. She has never changed. She is the Rafidah that we know. She will take no prisoner. She will speak up and she will continuously speak up. And we really appreciate her frankness. And this is what we want because she cares for Malaysia. We all care for Malaysia, and we will continue to speak up in our little ways. Thank you, Tan Sri, for joining us. Johan Jaaffar for co-hosting this. Please, we love Malaysia. Thank you and good night.
Good night.